In the coming 21st century, there's going to be 7 billion people getting older. And one of the issues about getting old, or even as we age normally during our lifespan, is that cells in our body have to be replaced. There's a constant generation of certain cells and they have to get replaced. Anyone who just rubs their skin will see some skin cells fall off. And in us, what happens is at the bottom of the skin, there are certain cells that divide with a certain frequency to replace the cells that come away. They don't do it too fast, they don't do it too slow. It has to be exactly the right rate of replacement. And those cells are called stem cells, and they're called stem cells because it's a little bit like the origin of the cells in the skin. In the hair follicle, for example, there are stem cells. Every time we lose a hair normally, the hair follicle gets regenerated, we grow a new hair. And the hair, when we're younger, comes out again, being pigmented, whatever color we were born with. And the cells responsible for that, so-called pigment cells, melanocytes. When the hair comes out, they also come out, and the whole hair follicle and new melanocytes get regenerated from stem cells. So, in terms of an aging population, one of the challenges for the 21st century is not just provision of healthcare, and prevention of death and making people live longer, it's providing quality of life. And one of the major issues with quality of life is loss of stem cells. I mean, loss of color in hair is not such a major issue for many people. But that's just indicative of the loss of stem cells on the regeneration of tissue in other parts of our body. If that doesn't work efficiently, we start to get problems with joints, with injuries that don't heal and so on. And in the long term, that can mean that we age and the quality of life goes down. So one of the things that we'd like to do is to use our knowledge of stem cells to try and provide what's called regenerative medicine. If we get a tissue that's damaged, if we get a damaged liver or a damaged heart from heart disease that kills some cells in the heart so it doesn't work efficiently, wouldn't it be lovely if we could take other cells from our body, induce them to become new heart cells, induce them to become stem cells for the heart, put them into the heart, regenerate new heart tissue so the heart now works much more efficiently. So that's one of the major challenges that we face in terms of normal stem cell biology. How do we use our knowledge of stem cells for regenerative medicine? And I think that is going to become more and more important as the world's population does start to age more and we are getting more and more old people.
Imagine two people are listening to music. What are the odds that they are listening to the exact same playlist? Probably pretty low. After all, everyone has very different tastes in music. Now, what are the odds that your body will need the exact same medical care and treatment as another person's body? Even lower. As we go through our lives, each of us will have very different needs for our own health care. Scientists and doctors are constantly researching ways to make medicine more personalized. One way they are doing this is by researching stem cells. Stem cells are cells that are undifferentiated, meaning they do not have a specific job or function. While skin cells protect your body, muscle cells contract, and nerve cells send signals, stem cells do not have any specific structures or functions. Stem cells do have the potential to become all other kinds of cells in your body. Your body uses stem cells to replace worn-out cells when they die. For example, you completely replace the lining of your intestines every 4 days. Stem cells beneath the lining of your intestines replace these cells as they wear out. Scientists hope that stem cells could be used to create a very special kind of personalized medicine in which we could replace your own body parts with, well, your own body parts. Stem cell researchers are working hard to find ways in which to use stem cells to create new tissue to replace the parts of organs that are damaged by injury or disease. Using stem cells to replace damaged bodily tissue is called regenerative medicine. For example, scientists currently use stem cells to treat patients with blood diseases such as leukemia. Leukemia is a form of cancer that affects your bone marrow. Bone marrow is the spongy tissue inside your bones where your blood cells are created. In leukemia, Some of the cells inside your bone marrow grow uncontrollably, crowding out the healthy stem cells that form your blood cells. Some leukemia patients can receive a stem cell transplant. These new stem cells will create the blood cells needed by the patient's body. There are actually multiple kinds of stem cells that scientists can use for medical treatments and research. Adult stem cells or tissue-specific stem cells are found in small numbers in most of your body's tissues. Tissue-specific stem cells replace the existing cells in your organs as they wear out and die. Embryonic stem cells are created from leftover embryos that are willingly donated by patients from fertility clinics. Unlike tissue-specific stem cells, embryonic stem cells are pluripotent. This means that they can be grown into any kind of tissue in the body. A third kind of stem cells is called induced pluripotent stem cells. These are regular skin, fat, liver, or other cells that scientists have changed to behave like embryonic stem cells. Like embryonic stem cells, they too can become any kind of cell in the body. While scientists and doctors hope to use all of these kinds of stem cells to create new tissue to heal your body, they can also use stem cells to help understand how the body works. Scientists can watch stem cells develop into tissue to understand the mechanisms that the body uses to create new tissue in a controlled and regulated way. Scientists hope that with more research, they can not only develop specialized medicine that is specific to your body, but also better understand how your body functions, both when it's healthy and when it's not.
You are an organized mass of 30 trillion cells, but these cells are in constant flux. Nearly 330 million new cells replace old cells in your body every day. Your intestinal lining renews itself every 3 to 5 days. Red blood cells die in just 120 days and so are regularly replaced. This constant cycle of regeneration keeps you alive. Your skin remains intact, your blood flows uninterrupted, and your gut stands resilient in the face of harsh acids. None of this would be possible without a group of supercells in your body called stem cells. Over the last 50 years, we've uncovered some truly epic science surrounding these stem cells. Their regenerative abilities have brought them into focus as therapies for diseases, especially those of the blood. So, what are stem cells? How do they function? And how are they responsible for your existence, growth, and maintenance? Stem cells have two unique abilities that define them. Firstly, they can self-renew to create more stem cells, and secondly, they can differentiate into many different types of cells. Stem cells are crucially different from somatic cells in the body. Somatic cells, skin, muscle, fat, brain, or bone cells, cannot divide. A skin cell does not divide to form new skin cells. A skin cell simply gets old and dies. These types of cells are what we call terminally differentiated. Differentiation is a process through which a cell picks its fate, essentially choosing a career for the rest of its life. Aren't we lucky to have the option to quit our jobs whenever we want and shift our lives into a new direction? Most cells do not have that luxury. We used to think differentiation was irreversible, a one-way street from a stem cell to a specialized cell. Essentially, we thought that a cell that becomes a skin cell will remain a skin cell forever. We were wrong, but more on that later. Stem cells have the ability to divide. An epithelial stem cell can divide into a new skin cell and another epithelial stem cell. The stem cells can also divide to make more stem cells. Therefore, an epithelial stem cell divides to self-renew and then differentiates into a skin cell. There are categories of stem cells based on the different cells into which they can differentiate. That measure is called the potency or potential of a stem cell. Totipotent stem cells are basically the MVPs of stem cells. They have nearly infinite dividing capabilities, allowing them to become any cell of an organism. The zygote, the single cell formed from the fusion of egg and sperm, is the OG totipotent stem cell. From its first few cell divisions arises an entire human. You stand today as an organized and systematic mass of trillions of cells arising from a single zygote. If you had to guess, how many cell types do you think an adult human has? Tell us in the comments below. There are also pluripotent stem cells to consider. Pluripotent stem cells are slightly more restricted than a zygote and can form almost all cell types. Embryonic stem cells, or ESCs, are a type of pluripotent stem cell that arise when the zygote divides to form a mass of cells called a blastocyst. When you restrict the fate of stem cells even further, they are called multipotent stem cells. These cells can differentiate into many different kinds of cells of a specific type. Hematopoietic stem cells in the bone marrow divide to make new blood cells, red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. The epithelial stem cells we mentioned earlier are another example. They can turn into any type of epithelial cell. Adults do retain some stem cells, which are present in particular niches to help maintain the body, replacing old cells with new ones. They can be multipotent stem cells, such as hematopoietic stem cells, or unipotent stem cells. Unipotent stem cells can only differentiate into one type of cell, meaning that a muscle stem cell can only differentiate into a muscle cell. This raises an interesting question. All cells have the same DNA, so how are some cells stem cells and others not? And as mentioned earlier, cell differentiation was assumed to be irreversible, but is that really true? Yes, cells all have the same DNA, but not all cells express all the genes. Genes are small sections of information in the DNA. Our more detailed video on DNA explains how the molecule works within a cell. Click the link in the top right corner to learn more. In brief, proteins in the cell read the information in a gene and convert that information into proteins the cell needs. The genes that are turned into proteins are the genes that are expressed. The cells switch off certain genes and are therefore not turned into proteins. We say that those genes are not expressed. Thus, a skin cell will only express genes such as the gene for keratin, while a muscle cell won't express that gene at all. In stem cells, this change in gene expression hasn't happened yet, and only occurs when the stem cell specializes. In 2006, researchers Shinya Yamanaka and Kazutoshi Takahashi did something researchers once thought impossible. They managed to convert a skin cell back into a pluripotent stem cell. They discovered 4 genes that controlled gene expression in cells, and when they introduced these genes in skin cells, some of them reverted into stem cells. These cells are called induced pluripotent stem cells, aka iPSCs. The 4 factors that led to this discovery are called Yamanaka factors. Today, stem cells are used in many different therapies. Bone marrow transplants help patients with blood diseases regenerate healthy cells. Researchers use iPSCs to understand how organs and tissues of the body form. They hope to address questions related to development and cell differentiation, and hopefully shed more light on congenital diseases. But importantly, many of our body's most critical and protective functions are only possible thanks to these powerful stem cells.